Hey y'all, welcome back to My 3 Cents right here on the Crazy D Ranch and Rabbitry. Today I want to talk about something that has caused more arguments in recent history than just about anything else. Free speech, hate speech, and cancel culture. What do they mean? Where do we draw the line? And who gets to decide? You might think this is something new, but it's something that our country has wrestled with from the very beginning of its foundation. So, let's dive in and see where a little history and a little common sense takes us. Let's get started. The First Amendment is one of the crowning jewels of our Constitution. It protects our right to speak, to write, to assemble, and yes, even to criticize our government without the threat of prosecution. But here's something that often gets misunderstood. The Constitution protects us from our government silencing our speech, but it does not protect us from the consequences of what our neighbors, our employer, or the public might do in response. A lot of folks think that freedom of speech means that I can say anything I want to without any consequences. But that's not true. What it means is the government cannot arrest you for what you say unless those words are direct threats, incitement of violence, or fraud. Beyond that, even speech that is unpopular or hateful is typically protected. And that's where the principle is tested. Free speech isn't just about protecting polite speech. It's about protecting speech that makes us uncomfortable. If free speech only protected the speech that we agree with, then we have no free speech at all. Now let's talk about hate speech. That's a term that is thrown around every day, but here's a fact that surprises most people. There is no legal category called hate speech. The Supreme Court has consistently ruled that offensive, distasteful, and even hateful speech is protected by the First Amendment, unless it crosses the line, a clear line, into threats, targeted harassment, or immediate violence. And there's a reason for that. Because if the government got to decide what words cross the line to being too hateful, then they wouldn't stop with the extreme stuff. And eventually, it would trickle down to things that are just not popular. And that's the road to tyranny. So as ugly as hateful words are, the principle of free speech demands that it remain legal. The answer isn't government bans. It's confronting bad ideas with better ideas. Now here's where cancel culture comes in. Cancel culture isn't about the government. It's about society. It's when people lose their jobs, their platforms, or their reputations for something that they said or did. Others call it mob justice. But guess what? Cancel culture isn't new. In the 1950s, we had McCarthyism. People in Hollywood, in education, in government, if they were even suspected of having communist ties, their careers were destroyed. Not by the courts, but by public opinion and fear. That was cancel culture before social media. We can even go back further. The abolitionists during the 1800s, those who dared to speak against slavery, were canceled from their communities. They were shouted down, threatened, beaten, sometimes worse. During World War I, if you spoke out against the draft, you could lose friends, jobs, in some cases, even put in prison. So cancel culture has always been with us. The difference today is the speed and the scale. With social media, one tweet or one video clip can explode across the internet, and within hours, millions of people have piled on. Careers can be lost overnight. So, Is cancel culture right? That's a tough one. On one hand, people absolutely have the right to decide who they do business with, who they support, or who they listen to. That's part of free speech too. But when it turns to destroying people's lives over a single mistake or silencing them for simply having a different opinion, that's a problem. That's not accountability, that's control. It creates a society where people are afraid to speak at all. And when people are afraid to speak, the truth eventually disappears. There has to be balance. We don't have to endorse hateful words, but we shouldn't live in a culture where one loud crowd can erase a person's whole life with no room for forgiveness. We need debate. We need perspective. We need grace. From a legal standpoint, cancel culture is not a violation of your free speech. Again, the First Amendment protects you from the government, but it doesn't protect you from the public. Cancel culture may be unfair, but it's typically not illegal. The real question is it healthy for us as a people? And here's where the scripture can be a little bit of a guide. James 1:19 tells us, "Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger." That doesn't mean we never disagree. It means we handle our words and our reactions with wisdom and grace. Cancel culture usually skips right over grace and goes straight to destruction. And that's not healthy for us, and it's not biblical either. So where do we draw the line? Free speech means that the government can't silence you. Hate speech, as ugly as it is still usually protected. Cancel culture is society's way of punishing speech. But whether it's wise or good for us in the long run is a question each of us need to wrestle with. At the end of the day, I believe the answer is not more silencing. It's more speaking, more debate, more patience, more truth. Because if freedom of speech dies, all of our other rights will follow right along with them. Thanks for spending a little time with me today here on My 3 Cents. If you found this subject interesting and worth talking about, comment below and tell me what you think. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the Crazy D Ranch and Rabbit so that you don't miss any of our future updates. And share this with a friend. Until next time, speak boldly, listen carefully, and let's keep freedom alive. Thank you for watching. Have a great evening. We'll see you next time.